This is LBC News 11:52. London's news, travel and weather in 15 minutes. Every 15 minutes.
Reports found the BBC did not pull the Jimmy Savile Newsnight investigation to protect its planned Christmas tributes for the late presenter, but has ruled the decision was flawed. President Barack Obama set a January deadline for gun control recommendations following the Connecticut massacre, which left 26 dead. And Britain's most senior judge says new inquests into the deaths of the 96 Hillsborough victims is necessary to ensure the memory of those who died is properly respected. The weather tonight, the rain will continue, heavy at times with lows of 6. Right now in Trafalgar Square, it's 6 degrees. LBC News 11:52, it's 5:15.
Hi, I'm Paul Deegan, CEO of WG Office Supplies. We're a single-source solution for stationery, furniture and print services. And right now, we're offering you a free audit. If you're a company director with at least 20 staff, we could save you as much as 45% on your stationery and print. And you could start making those savings within 48 hours. To see how we could help your business, WG Office Supplies will give you a free audit. Find out more at save45.co.uk or text audit to 67777.
This is LBC News 11:52. London's news, travel and weather in 15 minutes. Every 15 minutes.
The Prime Minister's told MPs allegations a police officer made up a witness account relating to former Chief Whip Andrew Mitchell are very serious. Mr Mitchell was forced to resign over claims he verbally abused an office while leaving Downing Street. Well, speaking to LBC this evening was Peter Blexley. He's former Scotland Yard detective.
The PR damage that's been done by this storm in a teacup that has just been allowed to mushroom into the enormous story that it is now is enormous. I know nobody's been charged yet, but the Prime Minister today was fairly bullish with regards to his account of an officer giving an account that he was there and he saw it when he wasn't, and all of that, which has been publicised. This is a major PR catastrophe, and the Metropolitan Police and other police forces just seem to lurch from one crisis to another.
Why?
Well, I think there's a lot of merit in what you say about the police trying to play politics. If we look at this case in particular, what the investigation will have to get to the bottom of is who leaked versions of this story to 2 national newspapers. You know, after Levinson and after the Home Affairs Select Committee, where we saw senior police officers frankly making fools of themselves when they were talking about their relationships with the media, I thought that the cops were going to get their act together and get their house in order when it came to their dealings with the media. But it would appear that in this case, and part of the whole problem of it is that there's been officers leaking stories, leaking logs, leaking accounts to national newspapers.
Do they think that if they get caught that nothing will happen? I mean, do the Police Federation actually think? Because it was their jumping on the bandwagon of this that kind of turned what was an altercation. Okay, we've all had arguments. Some of us have had arguments with policemen, and we've had arguments with friends, mates, work colleagues, and whatever else, and it blows over and you get on with it. But the Police Federation kept this going.
Yes, they did. And the Met branch of the Federation in particular were very, very bullish about it. And, you know, okay, so the police, of course, have had cuts to their pay and cuts to their pensions, and they've got to work more and longer and pay more and get less, and all of that, which is across the public sector. The police do feel very much aggrieved about it. Did perhaps they think they got Andrew Mitchell in their sights, and were they like a dog with a bone and wouldn't let it go? Yes, I think they were to a certain extent. But if, of course, it appears now that false evidence has been given, you know, and these emails were sent by this person who wasn't even there, then, you know, they're scoring a horrendous own goal. And look where we're at now. 30 police officers, 30 police officers investigating what was a storm in a teacup. You know, that's the kind of resources that get allocated to a major homicide inquiry.
Now, Peter, can we be sure, because of the culture in the police force that they like to cover each other's back, as you know, in fact, quite often they're fairly smug about it in a way, I suppose. Perhaps smug is the wrong word. But because they like to make sure that nobody squeals on another police officer, can we now be sure that they're going to root people out who are actually bringing the police into disrepute like this?
Well, James, in recent weeks, there's been a couple of highly publicised racism trials where police whistleblowers, blew the whistle on their colleagues and said they'd heard them say, make racist comments. Those didn't result in any convictions. So again, it looks a bit messy. And, being a whistleblower in the police service is not an easy thing. To have that reputation and carry it around with you, you're often not seen as a great good doer of good things. You're seen as a bit of a rat.
Are the people in charge, and we're going to talk later about the problems at the BBC and how the management of the BBC lacked any kind of leadership. Could it be said that the police leadership is lacking in quite a great respect?
Without a doubt, there are many police officers that I've spoken to that feel that the leadership is about self-service and not public service. And there's a very undignified, unedifying grapple to climb that greasy pole. And as a result of that, the careerists who get themselves into senior positions really are about themselves, the next rank, and the greater glory, rather than the greater good, which is serving the public. That's a widely held view.
What do you think the police authority, what do you think the Home Office should actually be doing now to instill some kind of respect back, if you like, for the police force, some confidence in the police force? Because if there are problems in the future, like the riots, like those demonstrations outside Parliament, where, quite rightly, I think we all got behind the police and condemned everything else, the police are suddenly going to find themselves in a situation where they are not policing with consent.
Yes, and of course that's the bedrock of British policing. But let's not forget that there is a large groundswell of favourable opinion for the police. Respect, of course, has to be earned, and we cannot be directed to respect them. And as we speak tonight, somewhere in the UK, there will be police officers bravely grappling with the drunk, the drugged, the mentally ill, and doing all the kind of things, to help keep us safe, and for which we should be grateful. But, these PR disasters, of which we seem to be getting on a very regular basis now, cause incalculable damage. I think we need a police service that's got to look itself in the mirror. It's got to be brave enough to look itself in the mirror and say, look, we don't have all the answers. And look outside for people that may be able to come in and help. People that have got experience in media relationships, in public relations, but the right people, not the wrong people, because we know that in recent times they've not made the wisest of choices. But the police don't have all the answers. They should. I think they are so wrapped up in their partnerships and their stakeholders that they sometimes regard the rest of us as the great unwashed, whereas of course in fact we're not, and we may be the silent majority who, many of whom would be able to give them some very sound advice as how to repair their reputation, get back on track, and remember that they are there to serve.
Peter Blexley, former Scotland Yard detective, speaking to LBC this afternoon.